Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 219 of Bill's Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts Alex and Sean, and yes, Alex is back. But on this episode we have a lot of goodness. Bringing back a hometown boy, trading one of the best players in franchise history, and the Cubbies struggling to beat some lower competition. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You can see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. Season tickets are now on sale, so head on over to icehogs.com, pick yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, season tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, my friend, how have you been?
I have been busy, but very good.
We missed you last week, so I had to get the guys from Ball because I was not going to talk by myself again.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. I wish I was able to talk to them with you. I did talk to them early this morning, though, when the Jabari Parker deal went through. I talked to them on Twitter just to kind of get their opinion on it, so at least I was able to talk to them then.
Speaking of Jabari Parker, should we just jump right into the Bulls?
Might as well. That's the biggest news.
Biggest news in the biggest surprise, not surprise news of the day. The Bulls signed Jabari Parker to a 2-year, roughly $40 million contract. What are your thoughts about it, Alex?
You know, I actually kind of like it. I kind of like this move. I mean, to put my overall thoughts into it, to kind of sum it up in a few sentences, to me, there's not really much of a risk because it's risky having a guy with 2 ACL surgeries on your team, but it's a 2-year deal with a team option in the second year, so it essentially makes this a 1-year deal unless, they bring him back the second year. Again, it's up to the Bulls. He's still only 23, and if you remember, Jabari Parker, his talent level, he was one of the most hyped prospects coming into the NBA in years. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that?
I mean, he went 2 overall, so yeah, there was some hype on him.
And he was on the cover of magazines. A lot of people were talking about this kid. Unfortunately, what's been slowing him down has been the injuries. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And yes, they're serious injuries, but if he comes back healthy and plays up to his potential at only the age of 23, the Bulls may have landed something really good here. And if he doesn't, like I said, it's essentially a 1-year deal. And what else were you going to spend money on this year? You weren't going to bring in any superstars by any chance, not at all. So you're spending money on a guy that could really pay off for you. I don't think there's a lot other places you could spend money on. So you might as well spend it on him. When they first talked about Jabari Parker, I'm like, oh, really? This is so Bulls. But when they made this offer, when you saw the contract, it made sense. I would have been thinking a little differently if, say, it was like a 4 or 5 year deal, something ridiculous like that. But for this deal, I think it's fine. I kind of like it. Maybe it will really pay off.
Here's my thoughts on it. Do I hate the deal? No, because there's really not that much to hate about it. And I know Bulls Twitter is losing their minds about it. But I don't think there's any reason to hate the move because, sure, it's a lot of money. But like you said, they've got all kinds of money to spend. And it is essentially a 1-year deal. If the knees don't look good, if he doesn't play well, he doesn't mesh, he's not he's not a Bull next year. And you know what? Honestly, is if you look at it this way too, is if he looks decent and you still stink, but he doesn't look like he's going to be a fit, but he can at least play, then you can always trade him because he's a 23-year-old former number 2 pick that's playing well, coming off an expiring contract. That is a value somebody will trade for.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that as well. It's like he could be a trade piece. What if you get another first-round pick, you know? That could work out too. Now, if you look at the team on paper, you have Wendell Carter Jr. now, who I'm sure we'll talk about this in a minute, but he's playing really well in the summer leagues. Then you have Zach LaVine, who you brought back. You paid a lot for him, but you brought him back. You're going to have Lauri Markkanen. You're going to have Chris Dunn. You add Jabari Parker in the mix. You know, if Jabari Parker plays up to his potential, I mean, you have a pretty solid young core there.
In that core there, the oldest player is 24 years old.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that should tell you something right there. Now, I did one of those Twitter polls where I asked, what do you guys think of it? And the options were, I love the Jabari move. I'm fine with the Jabari move. Meh, I don't know. And I flat don't like it. And here are the results. Based on 66 votes, 36% said they love it. 38%, the majority, said it's fine. 18% said meh, I don't know. And then 8% said I don't like it. I'm actually, with the way that we've been programmed to think as Bulls fans, I'm actually surprised there was this little pessimism about the move. Only 8% said they didn't like it. So I think a lot of people understand why this move was made and why this move is potentially a good thing, and that the risk isn't overly high like one may think it is.
But the other hand of my opinion of, I don't think this is a bad move, and I don't really understand that, how you can think this is a bad move or what part of it is a bad move, other than you just waste somebody else's money. But on the other hand, do I think this is a good move? I don't know. And there's a lot to question about it. Is adding Jabari Parker is adding a player that plays the same position as Wendell Carter Jr. and Lauri Markkanen. So you're going to have to move Wendell Carter Jr. over to play more of a center role. And when he's on the floor with Lauri Markkanen, you're going to have to move Jabari Parker to the 3 spot, which is not the position that he normally plays. And it's going to force an already bad defender to be even worse because he's playing against smaller, faster guys. And adding to this mix is another player that can't get to the free throw line and can't play any defense. So you got a slew of guys that can't play defense, can't get to the free throw line. If Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and Jabari Parker are now your new 3 alphas, the only way this works is if Chris Dunn plays up to his potential. Otherwise, it is going to be 3 guys playing, no, it's my turn to shoot the ball now. And Chris Dunn's going to have to play up to his potential to make this work.
Well, to your point about the defense, I mean, that is one thing that people have been talking about. You're not going to get a lot of defense there. You have a lot of scoring potential there and some athleticism, but defense, not as much. Now, my main concern is if you have Zach LaVine and Jabari Parker, that's, right there. Huge injury-prone guys right there. So, again, there is no guarantee that Jabari Parker is going to be great for the Bulls. I'm not saying he's going to be great for the Bulls, but I think it was definitely worth a shot. I guess the biggest question I would ask is, why not? What else would you do with whatever's left and all the money you had? What else?
I mean, the only thing I can say is I would have liked them to sign David Nwaba. That was he's a player that I liked. and it would have been nice for them to bring him back in the fold. But other than that, no, I don't. It's going to be an awkward mix, and they're really going to have to work hard to facilitate Jabari Parker, Zach LaVine, and Larry Markkinen to play with each other. But it just is also weird because even if you ask Jabari Parker, what position do you play? And he plays 4. And watching him play, he's a 4. So when you have Wendell Carter Jr. and Larry Markkinen on the court, is what do you do with Jabari Parker? Does Jabari Parker become the most expensive 6th man in the NBA? Or do you not play them on the court at the same time and just limit his minutes? I just don't know.
Yeah, that's going to be one thing that's just going to have to be figured out. I don't know what Coach Hoiberg has in mind. Obviously, he just got here, so that's going to be determined. So, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest question I have right now, outside of is he going to be 100% healthy? That's the obvious biggest one, but next to that, it's that. And you look at last year, and he definitely struggled last year. Injury riddled. He played 31 games, averaged 12.6 points, coming off a season where he played 51 games with averaging about 20 points. So he wasn't playing up to his potential last year with Milwaukee before he got hurt. But a new environment, new coaching, back in his hometown. So it's not really a new environment to him, but it's a new team with a totally different kind of team around him. Things can change. They can change. And I think that there is reason to believe that he can play like the player he was supposed to be or somewhere around it. When you have 2 ACL injuries, it's really hard to replicate that. But hey, look at Russell Westbrook. He was able to overcome it. So I guess you just never know. And this is one of those moves where, despite all the questions, I like it. Because a lot of the times when moves are made in any sport and you have a ton of questions, that makes you skeptical about the move. This is a move where I'm like, this could pay off, but if not, oh well.
Yeah, that's the last part is I totally agree with, is if it doesn't pay off, oh well, it does not hurt you. If it doesn't work out and because he's injured, it doesn't work out because the fits, let's just say if it doesn't work out because he's injured, if it doesn't work out because he sucks or can't come back from the injury, then you go, all right, well, this is a 1-year experiment and it didn't work. No harm, no foul. Just cost the team some money that they couldn't have used elsewhere.
Yeah, so there's really nothing to lose in that aspect.
Yeah, but if he plays really well but just doesn't mesh well, then you can trade him. And if he plays really well and does mesh, then you know what? You pick up that 2nd-year option, and suddenly he becomes kind of a steal. And if he plays well that next year, guess what? He's been on your team for 2 years. You've got early bird rights with him. So I don't think it's a bad move. I think it's a very calculated risk.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's so funny because you know me, I have very little optimism about the Bulls. I always say non-optimistic things about the Bulls, but this is legit a move where I'm like, I dig this. I can see this working out. I see why they did it. It makes sense because when the Bulls were talking about Jabari Parker, when they were linked in the rumors, I'm like, oh God, they're going to sign him like a 4-year deal, aren't they? And they made the right move in terms of the contract. Obviously you're paying a lot of money, but for the year and then the team option, that's okay. To me, it wasn't as much about the money, it was about the years, because that affects the salary cap going forward and when certain guys are free agents.
Yeah, to me, it's not even about the money or the years. It's about that team option on the 2nd year. That's fantastic. So, I mean,
that I think is the best part of the contract.
And honestly, it's for the people that are being negative about this. It's okay to look at it from 2 different perspectives and say, basketball wise, you don't think this is going to be a good fit, but still be excited about the guy coming back, is Jabari Parker was a superstar at Simeon High School in Chicago. He's a really good kid. He's really excited to come back to Chicago to do good things for the community. Is you can separate your feelings about how he'll fit on this basketball team and the money that were paid him, and him coming back as a person and as somebody that's going to help improve the city.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the whole narrative of playing with the hometown, I don't know how much, to me, it affects anything, but it's still better, in my opinion, than being like, oh, here comes Dwayne Wade. He's old and he's past his prime, but he's coming home. This is a different scenario. He's young, injury prone, but he's young. When you signed Dwayne Wade, you were saying, well, here he comes to sell tickets and get this team, into the playoffs, and then get your 2 playoff games guaranteed and not go anywhere there. This is a move where the kid has a ton of potential despite the injury problems on a rebuilding team. So there's a lot that can happen here. It's not like you're just driving the train into hell with this move. There's actual reasons this move is being made with a future outlook there. Now, will that future outlook happen? That still remains to be seen, but at least you could say it is within reason.
The worst part about it to me, though, is going to be the critics constantly being like, another hometown guy with knee issues being brought to the Bulls. So that's going to be the constant, knock on them, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those things where I kind of expect it anyway. You're going to expect a lot of backlash from people, especially on this Bulls team, the way things have gone under this scheme, even before the rebuild. So I just kind of expect that stuff.
But this signing, no matter how you perceive it, no matter where he fits into this scheme, the signing of Jabari Parker basically is John Paxson and Gar Forman telling us that the rebuild is over and we're ready to actually start trying to compete.
Is that how you see it?
I do, because unless they're going to sign him and hoping that it's a total awful fit and they tank worse, but I don't really see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I don't think they're saying, oh, this rebuild is all over, but I see them saying we're moving on to the next step here.
Yeah, I didn't mean the rebuild is over per se. I meant is that the downward spiral is done and now we're on the ascending part.
Okay, yeah, that I definitely agree with you. And actually, there's something interesting to go along with that. I heard on Twitter, I can't remember who said it, but people were talking about it. I don't know if you heard about it, that Reinsdorf was really mad about the Bulls losing a lot last year. Did you hear about that?
I did. And I mean, he should be unhappy. He should be really unhappy.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was also a rebuild. He's expressed fine feelings during the Sox being bad because of their rebuild, but with the Bulls rebuild, he does not seem at all happy, which is funny because, the Bulls are still getting a lot of revenue. So, I don't know. I find that weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe because he's worried that the trend of losing and the hatred of Garpax is going to start affecting the bottom line, and he doesn't solely own the Bulls like he does the White Sox. I believe he solely owns the White Sox. I think he's partners on the Bulls. Is that correct?
That's a good question. I know the White Sox are his team. It's his team.
Yeah, so I think he's the majority owner of the Bulls, but I think there's partner smaller share owners. And I've read somewhere that he always prided himself on being able to make a profit for the other owners. And if he foresees this being bad for business, this continuation, then maybe that's why he's expressing displeasure.
I mean, maybe it's just weird because, like I said, they're still making a ton of money last year. They were still, filling the United Center. There were a few emptier games, but they were still putting a lot of butts in those seats. So yeah, I don't know. I found it weird. So I don't know.
What else? So I guess for the Bulls, the summer league is now over. And Wendell Carter Jr. looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people saying that that's promising. Obviously, we know it's the summer league, but the way he's playing, the way he's blocking shots, you see highlights of him every day during the summer league days. Basically, there was some new highlight on him on Twitter, and it made you kind of think, hey, maybe he'll be as good or better than we thought he will be. I know that's not really how I try to see it because it's summer league, but it does at least give me promise that he will be a very good player. If he's showing that raw talent, I think that you can gauge the way a player plays against competition to an extent, but if you're just showing off raw talent, that right there can go a long way. And I think that he's shown a lot of raw talent.
Absolutely. And also I was talking to the guys from Ball. And I said, I think the biggest thing for me was he looked at what everybody told him his weaknesses were and what his Achilles heels would be going into the NBA. And everybody's got it, the last time I saw a player come out of college where they were like no flaws was LeBron James. So everybody's got a flaw, but he basically took the flaws that everybody told him he had and came out and showed that he had tremendously worked on those, which is a huge for me because it just shows that, hey, I'm working hard. I know what my flaws are. I'm going to fix them and I'm going to be a much more well-rounded player. And to see that work ethic and that self-awareness is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it best right there. If he keeps doing that in the regular season, then you got a promising player on your hand. You really do.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty exciting. Summer League, the Bulls got knocked out in the second round of the playoffs. Who cares?
Man. I was really gunning for that championship again this year, man. I'll never forget when they won their last Summer League championship. I was spraying champagne in the garage. I was running up and down the streets, waving the Bulls flag.
It's one of those things is like one of those moments that you never forget where you were. Like when the Challenger exploded or 9/11 when the Bulls won the Summer League title. It's just one of those just epic moments in a person's life.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the celebration when the Cubs won the World Series, but the Bulls winning the Summer League championship, oh my God, I thought the city was going to burn to the ground.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was even crazier is that you would think that the head of the parade would be like Wendell Carter Jr. or something, but they had John Lackey with Buttercup.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that he made sure that John Lackey made sure that there was someone behind him to clean up Buttercup's mess, but obviously there never was a mess because it was a wooden stick.
It was Paul Zipser picking it up.
Oh, yeah, well, at least he had a job back then.
Wonk wonk. I don't know. Do you have anything else Bulls related, or should we move on to the Blackhawks?
Yeah, I got nothing much else. I mean, I was going to mention Paul Zipser, but there we go. We just mentioned Paul Zipser, and I'm not surprised by the move whatsoever. So, yeah, that's all I got on that.
Yeah, Paul Zipser knew it was coming. Every fan knew it was coming. It was the least surprising thing. So, adios, Paul Zipser.
R.I.P. Paul Zipser.
Blackhawks. I really wasn't expecting to talk about anything, but we had a slight trade that occurred that altered that. So for those of you that aren't aware, that haven't been on Twitter in the past several days or watched anything Chicago sports related, is the Blackhawks traded Marian Hossa's contract. So Marian Hossa is no longer, even though he's no longer playing, he's no longer a Blackhawk. And sort of surprisingly, I thought it would be much more of an asset than it turned out to be, but the Blackhawks had to sweeten the pot a little bit. So it ended up being Hossa, Vinny Hinostroza, Jordan Osterley, and a third-round pick next year. And the Blackhawks brought back Marcus Kruger, a Mackenzie Entwistle, Jordan Maletta, Andrew Campbell, and a fifth-round pick next year. So it's a 7-player swap.
And most importantly, cap space.
Now they have roughly $9 million in cap space.
Because, look, let's face it. The real return was the cap space. But on top of that, getting Marcus Kruger back, one of your best PK guys that you've had the past few years, really, that's kind of nice. I'm going to miss Hinostroza, but other than that...
It depends on what Marcus Kruger we get back. Is the Marcus Kruger that left was okay. The one that we remember the most is being integral in 2 Stanley Cups. But the one that we traded away was meh. He was good in situations. And the one that we're getting back finished the season down in the AHL.
Well, you know what? I think it'll help being back in Chicago, being back with Coach Quenneville. I really do. And even if he is meh, at the end of the day, he still cleared all that cap space. So I think it's a win either way.
I'm totally there with you. It gives you a lot of flexibility. You couple that with the fact that Chris Kunitz and Cam Ward are both on 1-year deals. Clearly, the Blackhawks are also looking to the future to extend Alex DeBrincat and Nick Schmaltz.
That is very important.
That is very important. Hinostroza, I liked him. I didn't love him.
Me too.
But I liked him. He's a guy that could fit, occasionally in on the top 2 lines, but he's more of like a middle 6 guy. He's signed to a very reasonable contract, 2-year, 1.5 per year. He's not DeBrincat. He's not Schmaltz. In the 50 games last year, he had 7 goals, 18 assists. So is that 25 points? So it's not those aren't bad numbers. But he's just not. He's not the guy that's going to make your. You look at the 4 big issues the Blackhawks have. Who's going to back up Crawford / fill in when he's got another mystery illness? Vinny Hinostroza doesn't help that. You need a top 4 defenseman.
Nope.
Vinny Hinostroza doesn't help you with that. And you need improvement on your top 2 lines. And I don't think he's the consistent answer on either of those lines. No,
like you said, Vinny Hinostroza is kind of in the middle. I see him as like a third liner, a talented third liner, but not a top 2. Not a top 2. And though I did like him a lot, I get it. You needed to throw in something there to sweeten the deal, like you said. But boy, we got Arizona to take that contract. We got them to take that for a solid young kid and a few other, throw-in scraps. Like, wow.
Yeah, it's definitely good for the Blackhawks is to get that cap flexibility back. On paper, as it stands right now on July, is today the 13th? 14th. July 14th is right now. The Blackhawks are a worse team than they were last week because of this trade. So now the big question is, what are you going to do with this $9 million in cap space to make the team better? And I think that if you do it right, that you will be a better team.
Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect way to put it. I don't know. Did you see my Blackhawks Twitter poll from the other day? Because I did that one kind of just for fun.
I did not.
Yeah, so I basically asked, I said, okay, what do you think of the Blackhawks right now? And this was before the Hossa trade. I think this was like 3-4 days ago. But basically I asked, okay, do you see them as contenders, playoffs one and done, mediocre decent, or just flat bad? And a lot of people were voting on the lower end. Not a lot of confidence in the Blackhawks right now. And you know what? Right now, if you look at the Blackhawks, if you put in a fully healthy Crawford with everyone they have now, I think you either squeak into the playoffs or you barely miss. But I don't see cup contending because a healthy Crawford's going to get you wins. Patrick Kane is going to help get you wins. So is DeBrincat, Schmaltz. Tays and Saad, I still think are better players than they were last year. The defense is still my biggest concern. It's really hard to undo Father Time. In fact, it's pretty much impossible to undo Father Time to a great extent. So Keith and Seabrook, I don't see anything drastically returning to form there. But with all that in mind, it's like, okay, that's not a terrible team, I don't think, but it's not better than Winnipeg or the Predators or heck, like even Minnesota right now, even though I don't know what their team's going to look like next year. But you could see a lot of other teams in the West that are clearly better than the Hawks right now in terms of where they are with their team, how old they are, and the kind of hockey that they play.
Absolutely. And you think about it is your biggest money-making stars are all getting up there. Duncan Keith's about to turn 35. Seabrook, I think, is 34.
Yeah, they're up there.
Corey Crawford is 33. Jonathan Taves is 30, and Patrick Kane is gonna turn 30. So yeah, you've got to, while the core is still there, you've got to make moves, and you've got to have an eye on the future. And it sucks. I mean, it's weird. Like, it's a weird feeling losing Marian Hossa because you sort of wanted to retire a Blackhawk, but he's pretty much essentially retired last year before the season. It's not like he's going to suit up for Arizona.
It's a technicality. I mean, it really is. It's a technicality that he's a Coyote.
It's a number crunch right now. It's not anything else. It's just bookkeeping. So he essentially did retire a Blackhawk, and one day on the back of his hockey card, it's going to say Arizona with a bunch of zeros for several years. But it's not like we traded the guy. We traded
the contract.
A bookkeeping number. Yeah. Yes.
He traded the contract.
But yeah, I mean, let's look at essentially we got cap room for this trade. But I mean, looking at the players we got, Kruger, you expect nothing, nothing more than being your fourth line center.
Yep.
If he makes the roster, I mean, honestly, it's a possibility that he goes down to Rockford and you end up with that much more space. Was he?
I mean, it's possible. I can't rule that out. I don't think it's going to happen that way, but it's possible. Mackenzie
Entwistle, he's probably got the most upside out of anybody. He's in the OHL, but he's only 19 years old. So he's not NHL ready. You're not going to get a guy that's going to come in and help you now, but he's a guy that could eventually be a player for you. Nick Moletta, he's 23-year-old center, but there's no real threat of him making the NHL. He's pretty much a career minor league player.
So he's like Mark McNeil, basically.
Kind of, yeah. Andrew Campbell, he's a 30-year-old. And he's a guy that's going to who's had some NHL experience. I think he's played like half a season in the NHL, not consecutively, but in time. So I think he's going to be one of those guys that goes up and down the roster when there's injuries and such. So I think he'll actually be.
Yeah, 42 career games from 14 to 16.
Yeah, so,
the most he's played is 33 in 2015.
Yeah, so I see him as a guy that they could pull up and, he can play it in spots and then go right back down to Rockford without worry of somebody, him not clearing waivers or whatever. He's a safety valve. So really, you took a flyer on a 19-year-old and got cap space.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of what you got to do to clear cap space in this situation. So that's why I can't really say anything bad about it. So that poll I was talking about, I got it back, and here are the exact numbers: 78 votes, 10% said cup contender, the majority 49%, so essentially half said mediocre decent, 21 playoffs, 20% bad. So that means 69, nice, said that they're not even going to make the playoffs of these votes. So there's not a whole lot of confidence in the team right now. And I can't say that I'm overly confident either, but I'm also not ruling anything out officially. It's going to depend on what other moves they make. And I truly believe that they are in the most awkward position possible because they're looking into the future with a number of these guys, but they're also trying to contend with the current core that they have, a core that's getting older. You know what I mean by just awkward? Like there's no set direction really. It's kind of two different spectrums are meeting, future, now, and they're kind of clashing together.
Yeah, and at least part of the old guard is still viable. Keith and Seabrook, they're not, but as far as Crawford, Kane, and Taves, they're still viable.
Yeah,
and
I put
you fully
Saad
expect
in that list too.
Yeah, he's a young veteran. I fully expect Taves and Saad to have rebound years. Kane was good, and you have to expect Crawford's going to have a bounce back because even if he shows up healthy, it's a bounce back. So it's about integrating these young players and trying to navigate those waters until you can get the Seabrook and Keith contracts off the books. And honestly, if they could somehow pull off a miracle and get rid of one, if not both of those guys, that would be amazing.
I could see one of them being dealt and somebody eating some of their salary while we eat some of it. I could see one of those guys going. I don't know which one it would be. I could see it being Duncan Keith maybe a little bit more. And, I've said this before. I hate talking about those two guys in this light because of how many good things they've done. But fact of the matter is right now, they're not what they used to be and they're much older. But I think if you were able to trade one of them and just have to eat, say, half their salary, I think that is a pretty good job because any clearing of some of those contracts is a good thing at this point. I hate to say it, but that's the truth.
But what was I going to say? I can't remember. We had at one point a similar crisis of what are we going to do with Soupy Campbell's contract, and we found a sucker to take it. So there's always a sucker out there.
Stan Bowman, say what you want about him. He's done a good job at clearing cap space. I mean, you remember the purge of 2010. He had to clear a lot of those guys away, and some of them were not easy to clear away. It's like Ben Eager. Who is really dying to have Ben Eager or an older Brett Sopel or Campbell, like you just said? So he's been able to do this kind of thing in the past. I mean, look, he just did it with Hossa.
Yeah, but he did it with Hossa, but again, he had to attach Vinny Hinestroza. He did it with
Dustin Bufflin.
Oh my goodness.
Well, no, he had a lot of value, so no.
No.
Campbell?
No. Went to Hurricanes. Bickle. They got rid of Bickle, but then he had to send Teuvo Teravainen over with it. And look what Teuvo's doing now that you would love to have on your roster.
I mean, that's true. That is true. But if he has to add in a little something for one of those to take it, it would depend on what it is. But I think that maybe there's a chance he could find a way to get rid of one of those. And I'm just saying maybe. I'm not saying that he's going to. I'm saying I think there is a chance that it could happen. Because some people are saying, no, it's completely impossible. I don't know if I'd go completely impossible yet. I think there may be still a chance that could happen. I mean, until it does, you're just going to assume that Keith and Seabrook are going to be on the Hawks and nowhere else.
Yeah, crazier things have happened. Is it very likely? No. Is it very slim of happening? Yes. So, but it could happen, I guess. I just would be absolutely shocked, and I would dread what you have to throw in to get them to take that money off the books.
Yeah, and again, I think that if there is a trade, it would. How do I say it? It would have to say, okay, I'm only eating so much. To take a whole contract like that.
Well, I don't think you can split up contracts in the NHL. I think it's all or nothing.
True. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the rule for is. I mean, I've never seen it where it's split up like that, so you're probably right. Which probably makes it even harder. But still, I think there may be a chance that it could happen, but it's very small. I'm saying like 10%.
So what will the Blackhawks do with this roughly $9 million? And the only two things I'm hearing so far are two potential trades. There's really not that much in free agency left that would interest you at all. At least not that's going to help you fill the holes that you have in this roster. So you're sort of looking at trades. The one I've heard the most rumblings about is with the Montreal Canadiens taking Max Pacioretty, who is, I think he's currently their captain. And he's got one more year on his deal. So the Blackhawks are in talks about bringing him over. And I think you'd probably expect him to be on that top line with Taves and Saad. The other one is with the Carolina Hurricanes and bringing over centerman Jeff Skinner. Those are the only two rumors that I've really heard.
I don't see the Pacioretty thing happening. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't really see either one of those happening.
No.
Somehow we need to get a top four defenseman, and those really don't grow on trees.
I don't see how they're going to get one right now. Trade, free agency, either way, I don't see how that's going to happen.
Well, there's not one in free agency.
No, there's
not. So it would be a trade, and teams really are reluctant to give up a top four defenseman.
No, why would you?
Because even if you're paying them top dollar, if they're still a viable top four defenseman, you're just going to pay it. And if it's somebody that's on a rookie deal or a second contract, then you're definitely not giving them up. You are absolutely just, eating that up. So it's really hard. And I don't know if there isn't a trade market available or what you'd have to give up. It's sort of like trading for pitching in baseball is you've got to give up a lot to get a young, cost-controlled pitcher. In hockey, you've got to give up a ton for young, price-controlled top four defensemen.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. I think this is just a situation where they're kind of stuck with this.
I think it is. I mean, I think your best bet is to take flyers on guys and hope you can find a right combination to get you through until those 8,000 defenseman draft picks you have are ready to come up and hopefully turn into your top four.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen this year. So that's kind of an issue.
No. So that's not going to happen this year. So that's, if you can take flyers on maybe some older guys, maybe some guys that haven't totally put it together, but have some upside. I mean, maybe that's the route you have to go to see who pans out and throw things against the wall until they stick to figure out who your six defensemen are going to be.
Yeah, I'm really getting tired of the same stuff with the defense. It seems like it's been the same stuff the past 2 years. Unfortunately, that's part of Keith and Seabrook getting older, but also, we've gotten defenders the past 2 years. It's like, well, they can score, but they're not really quick. They're kind of bulky, and you need quick, versatile defense in this day and age in hockey. That's just what you need. It's like, oh boy, Jan Ruda could score, but, is he a speedster? Not really.
I wonder what Michael Roosevelt's up to.
Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
He's like the Eastern European John Lackey.
Oh my God, you are kind of right. Except I don't think he rides around on a horse named Buttercup with Shaw in his mouth. I just think he goes around just like with a thing of vodka and just kind of does whatever. He seems really chill.
Yeah, so I mean, they've got to do something with this cap space, and it sort of has to be the really right move, because if it's not, you are really screwing yourself for the future.
Yeah, this is going to put a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, I really honestly think that whatever Stan Bowman does with this $9 million is going to basically either keep him his job or cost him his job.
Yeah, I think both Q and Bowman are kind of on a tightrope right now. There's not a lot of room for error. Yeah, things don't work out now. It's, probably time to move on if things don't get any better and things only get worse. I probably mentioned this on the show before, but, I'll ask again what you think, because times change. What do you think is the level of tolerance with Q and Bowman in terms of their accomplishments this coming year? Do you think that they're safe no matter what for the future? Or do you think that if they don't make the playoffs again, they're finito?
I really think that if they don't make the playoffs, that both are gone. And I think if they make the playoffs, but it's a quick exit, I think one or both could be gone. It's going to sort of depend on the situation. If you're dealing with some major injuries and you overperform based on, Crawford and Taves and Kane are all injured, and you still make it to the the playoffs and makes, don't go out without a fight, then maybe that's a different story. But if everybody's healthy or fairly healthy and you still bow out early in the playoffs and don't make any noise, then both could be gone. I really think the only way both of these guys are safe is if they win at least one series in the playoffs and don't get banged out in the second one, at least make it a series.
Yeah, because here's my whole concern. It may not be to the same extent, but we saw what happened to the Red Wings from 2010 to 2016, where they did nothing but tread water and sign big contracts to old guys constantly. And it's like, oh, we made the playoffs, we kept the streak alive, and then you lose in 5 games in the first round. That is what I really don't want to become. The one comforting thing is, though, that the Blackhawks do have a lot of promising young guys in Schmaltz, in DeBrincat, and they got some promise in the farm system, so at least there's a little bit of hope there. But I don't want to be treading water anymore. What I'd love to see is an actual direction. Are we going to be true contenders this year or not? The in-between stuff is what's really just... It's just bad for you. You know what I mean? It's just bad.
Oh, absolutely. Is if this team if this team doesn't do anything, I'm all for trading everything and doing
Me
full
too.
rebuild.
Trade what you
And-
can,
and
I should say.
That means and honestly, is as much as I love Kane and Taves, if they can't win with them, then at this point you could say thanks for your accomplishments, and you trade them and you move on.
I agree. No, I agree. If we see, like, let's say this coming year, they're like an 80-point team, not in the playoffs. You know, they're not the worst team in the league, but they're not particularly good. I think even if you're just there, like I could see that being cause for let's start over again. Because what is mediocrity going to do you? It's not going to do you anything. And it's to the point where you're like, okay, our superstars keep getting older. If it hasn't worked the past few years and you're not just going to magically make them younger and quicker again, what's the point of standing pat? That would just put you in a deeper hole. If you want to keep this core together and have confidence that they're going to keep contending moving forward, then this coming year, they have to make the playoffs and at least try to make some sort of run.
Absolutely. And at least if you make that decision that, all right, this is not, we can't just keep patching this and trying to go for a title. And you decide to make moves. Taves and Kane at least still have value now. If Crawford plays well, he's got a ton of value, and you've got a lot of young, good players. So sure, it's going to suck, but you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from a good spot because of the talent that you still do have. And you're going to be saddled with a couple of contracts that are unmovable, but at least there's some guys that are movable, and you can get what you can get for those guys.
Right.
Just start from the young guys.
Right. You move what you can in the veterans. You keep the young guys around that you value, like DeBrincat, Schmaltz, and the guys in the farm system. You work with what you can't get rid of. You got to ride that out, and the rest of the way, you try to rebuild. I mean, that's going to be the closest to a full rebuild as you're going to get with the Hawks. And that would include, I think in my opinion, it would include new general manager, new coaches. It would include that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can't trust this with old guard.
No, you can't. And here's another thing. The past few years, people have been trying to say or argue, oh, this is the rebuild. They're turning over some of their guys here. No, that's not a rebuild. It's a retool. A rebuild is sweeping everything away except for maybe really young assets, sweeping away your coaching, general managing. I mean, that's truly what a rebuild is. Yeah, the Bulls and White Sox are doing what is considered a rebuild, and I consider a rebuild, even though it's under the same management, they still swept everything away. I think in terms of Hawks rebuild, the definition of that would be redoing management, coaching, and the veteran core. I think that would define a rebuild. Everything else less than that, if it's the same management, the same coaching, and it's the same core, but you're trying to build around that, that's a retool. I think there's a difference.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the contracts. Kane, you can move and get something for. Taves, you can move, get something for. Saad, you can move, get something for. Anisimov is somebody you can move and probably get something for. Kruger, this is the last year of his contract anyway. Kunitz, last year of his contract. Schmaltz, Dylan Sakura, and DeBrincat are all ones you'll want to keep
for sure
around. Brent Seabrook, and Duncan Keith. I think you're stuck with those.
It can be real hard.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have that weird feeling that one may find a buyer, but I'm still putting those chances low.
Connor Murphy, I think you can move him. I don't know what kind of return you can get, but at least you get the $4 million a year off the books. Jan Ruda is gone after the year. Manning and Gustafson, you can evaluate them, but they both have 2 years, this year and next year. And Crawford, you could definitely move him, and that's $6 million a year. So, I mean, if you're able to do that, you've got a 6, 10, 20, 30, 36, $40 million in salary cap plus whatever trade pieces you get back. It's not something that's an easy apple to take a bite of, but that reality is you'd much rather trade them while they still have value than be saddled with them when they're all just a bunch of... It was much better to trade them early than be saddled with them like Keith and Seabrook.
Yeah, exactly. And I want listeners to understand that this is not us calling for a rebuild right now. This is us playing out a scenario if things continue to go poorly this coming season. If there is no chance of them winning a cup this next coming season, this is the scenario we're playing out. We're not saying doing this right now. Just to make that clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that I don't like any of those players and want them gone or I hate the Blackhawks. It's if we keep up this pace of trying to patch holes rather than fix things, it's going to be, we're going to be stuck where a 38-year-old Duncan Keith with 3 years left on his contract, a 36-year-old Seabrook with 2 years left on his deal. We're going to have a Jonathan Taves who's in his mid-30s with however many years left on his contract, and a declining Patrick Kane. And then suddenly they become immovable contracts, and then you are stuck in any NHL hell where you've got no money to do anything and you can't move the contracts you have, and they're not good enough to win you games. And then you're just basically the Red Wings.
Exactly. You don't want that. You don't want that at all.
No. So it's much better to part ways with a guy that's won you 3 Stanley Cups that you absolutely love, and watch him fade on another team than fade in front of your eyes.
Exactly. No, that's the perfect way to put it. It's one of those things where, I really don't know where I stand with the Blackhawks right now. I don't see them being good enough right now to be true cup contenders, but, they've done so much in the past. I'm not 100% ruling them out, but I'm kind of mentally preparing myself for the worst. I'm preparing for the fact that this very well could be the end.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and I'm really hopeful. I would love to see another cup run, even if they don't win it, at least the solid run for it. But I'm not holding my breath.
Right. And this is the first off season in maybe 10 years where I look at the Blackhawks and I'm like, I don't know if we're really gonna do anything this year, because even last year, after that season of getting swept, I'm like, all right, we got one of our good playoff guys back in Brandon Saad. They're going to come back hungry. They're going to come back with a vengeance. I had a feeling that they had a real shot at a championship last year, even though the year before they did not play as well as their record showed. I thought that, they still had it in them and that they were going to be ready to bounce back. Now, obviously, the year before that was a defending champ year, so of course you have confidence in them. Then the championship years, yada, yada. So this is the first time in a long time where I'm really looking at this team and thinking, I don't know. I don't have that much confidence, even though I'm not completely writing them off yet.
We shall see.
Yep.
So do you want to move on to the Cubs?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I don't really have anything the Bears to talk about other than fluff. It's that time of year before training camp. Oh, I reached out and I was told by the Bears organization that for the second year in a row, they are not going to honor quote alternative media as invites to training camp.
Well, that's depressing.
Yes. So I wrote back and I said, that's very disappointing. When will this policy change? Because the other franchises in the town seem to respect podcasters and bloggers, and I've not heard a response.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So yeah, it's a weird time in the NFL where there's really nothing going on other than people just. Yeah, I saw an article about a list of players that should just change positions. So that's what we have.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
But Cubbies
yeah.
is, damn it, do I love Javy Baez. And if you would have asked me several years ago, I would have told you impossible. I will never like him. And now I absolutely love Javy Baez.
Day in, day out, he does something that excites you. Whether it's running the bases, whether it's hitting a home run, whether it's making a great play at second base, every day there's something new with him. And it gets me even more excited to watch every game I can because of him. And the days that I'm busy and can't watch games, I'm constantly like refreshing my feed when I get a break saying, is there a Javy Baez highlight? And oftentimes there is.
Yeah, it's you're hard pressed to find a day where he's not doing something spectacular.
Yeah, and he can take something that looks routine and turn it up a notch. For example, the winning run he scored in the first game against the Padres. Yeah, you could say a lot of people at decent speed score there, but also a lot of people would be hesitant to run, and some don't have that speed. Baez, the risk taker that he is, he was off. He was off, and he didn't let anything get in his way, and he scored easily. Not every player has those kind of instincts. Sure, a number of them do. A lot of people would have scored on that play, but not everyone. The fact that he plays the way he plays makes those kind of quote-unquote more routine plays even more special because you trust the guy to do it with the way he plays. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's it's funny because you're like, well, people could do that, but the thing is, he takes a play that all of us are going, wow, that's risky. But how often in the past 2 years has it blown up in our faces or been a bad play? It's he knows what he can do, and he's able to assess the situation quickly and go, I can do it, and just go, not hesitate, no hesitation at all. And that's where the spectacularness of it comes from.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly the way I feel. You summed it up perfectly. He's the kind of guy where, like, the energy's around him, and when he does something, it seems like the team follows suit. I know that sounds super cliche, but you see the way they react in the dugout. You might see in the old days with some other teams, some other players, they'd be sitting there rolling their eyes and being, oh, look at this show off, look at this guy. But everyone on the team, including the manager, they love it. It's part of who they are, and it works for the whole team. And I think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. And he's on a team that has a former MVP and a guy who's was finished third in MVP voting. He's the heart and soul of this team.
I can't name anyone more exciting than him right now. On the team, I can't.
And this team wouldn't be where they are right now if it wasn't for Javy Baez.
No, I mean, look at how many difference-making plays that he's made. Whether it's a game-winning hit, whether it's a game-saving play, or the base. I mean, he scored the winning run last night doing that. And look how he tied the game against the Tigers on the 4th of July when he's still home. I mean, that's making a direct impact of how your team is playing.
Yeah, especially in a year where your numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 starters have been disappointing. Your best hitter in Chris Bryant has gone through a few slumps and has gone through an injury. And your all-star first baseman has gone through a really major slump for the most part this year. And Javy Baez has kept you as one of the best records in the National League.
Well, this was a point that a lot of people were making when talking about the division, because you look at not only the division, but the National League in general, nobody's really running away with anything in the National League. And the fact that the Cubs are here pretty much at the top with all these things happening to them, it's impressive. Injuries, underperforming, the fact that they are where they are, they're on right now, they're on a similar pace as 2016. I don't know if you saw the tweets the other day, but they had like one less win than the 2016 Cubs had at that point. Like, can you believe that?
Yeah, the Cubs have the best record in the National League right now.
It's hard to believe. You would think the way this season's gone, the way people have reacted, that they were where they were last year and like 2 games under 500.
The crazy part is, the Cubs have the best record in the National League, and if they were in the AL East, they would be in third, and they would be like 8, like 12 games out of first.
Yeah, that is something. But hey, we finished third with 97 wins in 2015, so just saying.
And I believe I did call this. I said right before All-Star break, the Cubs would go back into first place.
Well, right now they are. They have 2 more games to play, and then Milwaukee has 2 more games to play. They got swept by the Pirates in a doubleheader, so there's that. Honestly, if the Cubs just win the next few games, then they should still be in first place when it's all said and done. So, you'd kind of like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just now getting past the Padres, that Giants series was really frustrating because, you saw the return of Kyle Hendricks, and which is a good thing. I mean, he pitched fantastic, but the Cubs just couldn't put runs up. And that was really frustrating. Yeah. You felt like that should have been a sweep. They should have swept the way they played. They should have swept the Giants, and they ended up losing 2 of 3.
They should have at least won that series. That's how I feel. They should have taken 2 of 3.
The way Hendricks pitched in that one game, that should have easily been a victory.
Oh, of course. I mean, that was not only his best start of the year, but that was the best performance by any Cubs starter this season. The best.
And that's saying something because John Lester has been one of the better pitchers in baseball and is on the All-Star team.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's true. And he's gone further than any other starter. The 1 run was unearned, and it's just too bad he didn't get any run support. I mean, he had 1 run given to him, and that was it, and that was scored on a ground out. So, the bats just weren't awake that day, unfortunately for him. The other pitcher I wanted to touch on was Quintana, because his start in the game the Cubs did win, I mean, he looks pretty good there too.
Yeah, I mean, he looked pretty good. I'm not overly concerned about Quintana. I know there's been some bad starts that have skewed the numbers, but I think overall it's way more good than bad.
Yeah.
And it just he hasn't had any like that many just dominant starts where you've talked at him up. He's just sort of been the forgotten guy.
Yeah, that's true.
It's I'm not that concerned about him. If we can get Hendricks back to where he should be, and then it's just how healthy is Darvish and what the hell do we do with the 5 starter?
Well, I'm really starting to think the Cubs are going to make a move for a starting pitcher because you're seeing the regression for Mike Montgomery, which isn't all that surprising. Darvish is the big question mark. And frankly, I don't know how much more we really should be continuing with this Tyler Chatwood stuff. I have been defending him and have been patient with him for a while, but it's getting to a point where we're like, you can't really continue with this, can you?
I want to read you a Tyler Chatwood stat.
All right, let's hear it.
So far this year, we're not even at the All-Star break. Tyler Chatwood has walked 71 batters so far. Greg Maddux walked a total of 71 batters from 1995 through 1997 in 687.1 innings.
Holy hell. That is wonderful.
That's 3 seasons versus half of 1 season.
Weren't there seasons where he had more wins than walks, Greg Maddux?
Yes. I mean, I get it that it's a kind of unfair comparison because you're against one of the best pitchers ever who just didn't walk people. But Tyler Chatwood just walking guys left and right.
Walking pitcher. Here's the weird thing. You've seen him do well, get outs against like top hitters in the middle of the order, but then he's walking the pitcher and the 8 guys batting sub 200, and then things go to crap. It's weird. It's just very, very weird.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. I just don't even know how to explain it, but the walks have just become unacceptable, and guys are starting to hit him. It's just he's not a good pitcher, and it was. I'm not going to say we're going to give up on him because he's got a 3-year deal, but we have to shore this up because we're our contending team, and if we don't fix the situation, we're going to fall out of contention.
I think that potentially, if this keeps going in the second half, I think that the first half is enough sample size to judge, but just for the sake of playing conservative here, if this continues in the second half, then we can truly say that this was Theo's a big blunder by Theo. And I thought it was a good move, but so far it's proving otherwise. I mean, you look at his stats right now, a 5.04 ERA, a 5.20 FIP, a 1.77 WHIP, yeesh, and 73 base on balls. He's approaching his total from last year. He had 77 last year. He has 73 already. I mean, if he had maybe half those walks in an ERA around like 4.3-ish, then you'd say that's 5th starter stuff and you'd be okay with it. But the numbers right now, no bueno.
Yeah, definitely no bueno. And I don't know what else you can do. I don't think you can. Maybe this is fixable, but it's not fixable during the middle of the season.
Yeah. That's very true.
And I don't know what you're going to get from you, Darvish. And as much as it would be nice to have consistent another just top bat in your lineup with a Manny Machado, what you're going to have to give up for the guy. I'm hearing some of the packages that the Phillies, the Yankees, and the Brewers are offering, and I is it worth it to get half of a season of that guy?
I don't think it is right now. That's not one of their big areas of concern. I don't think it is.
Yeah, so there was a point where I thought that this would definitely be the move to make to shore it up. And I'm not saying it wouldn't be if Darvish was back and pitching decently and Montgomery and Chatwood were holding down that 5th spot okay, then yeah, I would say Manny Machado, because then your biggest hole would be consistent offense, and I think he would help you provide it. Because that would be a beast of a lineup to have to go through with Almora, Baez, Bryant, Rizzo, Machado, Contreras. You don't get a break. It's a murderer's row. But right now pitching is your Achilles heel, and you need to have pitchers that are going to give you good outings and give you innings, because you're just beating up that bullpen.
And that's why I think it's important for them to add some reinforcements to that. I think that they are going to be doing that, especially when you've had the injury issues that they've had. For example, Brendan Morrow has been good, but he's had some injury problems. Carl Edwards Jr., he's had some injury problems. I don't know what was up with Brian Dunsing. I don't know if it was just a DL stint because he was doing really poorly or what, but, he was on the DL. So, yeah, I think it's important to add some depth there.
And, I see a lot of people throwing out Jacob deGrom's name. And, yeah, absolutely love to have the guy on our team. But
I don't think that's happening.
I don't even want to think about what the Cubs would have to give up to get him.
It would have to be multiple position guys that are on the MLB squad. I truly believe that. It would have to involve Ian Happ and maybe Schwarber, or they'd ask about Baez. They'd ask about him. Maybe Almora. It would have to involve those kind of guys. And then some prospects. I just don't see it being affordable at all right now for what the Cubs are aiming to do with what they have right now. I just don't see that happening. I think that the Mets are going to look at teams that have both really valuable young assets and some MLB-ready guys.
Yeah, it's not happening. Not going to happen. If the Cubs are going to make a trade for starting pitching, it's going to be a back end type guy, a number 4, number 5 guy, and it'll be somebody that they have. It's a reasonable trade to get.
I think that if you look at some of the guys who are available right now that seem reasonable, I did an article both on relievers and starters. I think you're looking at a J.A. Happ. I think you're looking at maybe Nathan Eovaldi. You could be looking at, in terms of relievers, there's some guys on the Padres that are kind of intriguing. Not Brad Hand, but other guys like Kirby Yates. You could still be in play with Zach Britton, too. You wouldn't use him as a closer, but he would be good depth. So there are guys out there that I think are affordable for the Cubs, but we're not talking like a Quintana trade like last year. I don't think we're going to see Jacob deGrom or anything like that. But you could still get a potentially solid guy, or at least a veteran guy that could get the job done lower in the rotation, like a J.A. Happ.
Yeah, that's the name I keep hearing thrown out, is J.A. Happ. But I hear also the Yankees are interested.
And if the Yankees are interested, they probably have more interesting assets to the Blue Jays than the Cubs do.
But do you want to trade within your division? That's the one thing the Cubs do have.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true, but I guess to me, it's would the Blue Jays be willing to do it, or would the Yankees be willing to do it? Would they both not be? I mean, I think the Yankees would be willing to trade with the Blue Jays, but, that's just a guess. I don't know. It would depend on the price. It would depend on the ransom. I don't think it would cost them a ransom really at all for J.A. Happ, but they may up it for a little bit. It's a division rival. So, I mean, that's the one advantage the Cubs do indeed have, is that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something. I don't know if it's going to be a huge factor, but if all trades are equal, the compensation's very similar, definitely they're going to trade to the Cubs rather than the Yankees, because if all things equal, why in the world would you want to help a division rival?
Right. I think this is just a guess or an opinion of mine. I don't know if this is true or not. I do feel like the Yankees are less worried about their division rivals than other guys are worried about the Yankees, because I think if they want to make a trade with Baltimore, they try to get it done, where Baltimore is pretty much refusing to trade with the Yankees. Does that make any sense? It's just a theory of mine.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the Yankees, they have all this star power. They'll be like, well, we'll beat them anyway, where the Orioles, they don't want to make the Yankees any better. The Yankees have been controlling them for so many years, outside of a few. The Yankees have been the dominant force, and they don't want to continue feeding that.
I don't think anybody wants to continue feeding the
No.
Yankees. I think everybody hates the
Well,
Yankees.
yeah, I mean, the way they're succeeding again, they're going back to being a baseball villain.
Oh yeah, and they're totally enjoying it. And I think most people, it's funny because if you talk to people in New York, they think everybody loves the Yankees. And if you go 10 minutes outside of New York, everybody else hates the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And you're definitely not wrong.
So do you have a prediction for Cubs? Do they make a move of any significance, or is it just going to be adding some middle relief arms?
They're going to add some relievers, and I think they're going to add a starting pitcher. Right now, I just don't know if Yu Darvish is going to be ready to go anytime soon. And I think that Mike Montgomery is going to be back to the bullpen. So I see them doing that. But again, nothing overly huge. I don't see any position player trades. I don't think there's a need for that. The Manny Machado stuff, nope, that's not happening. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically what I think is going to happen.
Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I've pretty much said my piece. Yeah, I mean, only 2 games left until... I mean, when we're recording this show, there's only 2 games left until the All-Star break, so getting ready for that, getting ready to watch the Home Run Derby with Schwarber and Baez. That'll be exciting.
It's going to be exciting. On one hand, I hope they do well. On the other hand, I hope they don't because of the history of at least perceived history of guys losing power numbers after the All-Star break when they do well in the Home Run Derby.
Think of it this way, though. The way Baez swings, it's not like he's changing his approach all that much. He just swings. He swings hard. That's what he does.
Yeah, I mean, so it'll be fun to watch. I root for the Cubs players. I heard Lester's not going to play or not going to pitch. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, he's going to be pitching on the last day of the first half. And if that's the case and he just gets the rest, that's fine. Honestly, I think that's fine.
Did you see him tweet at Major League Baseball?
About the jersey?
About the jerseys. That was great.
Yeah, I did. That was funny. That was good. Because he hasn't tweeted in a while, and then he saw that, and I'm like, hey, he's back on Twitter.
So, yeah, it'll be fun watching the Cubs contingency at the All-Star game. Major League All-Star game is a fun time. I know it's not that great of ratings, but I don't know. For my money, I think it's the best All-Star game. Maybe the NBA, but
it's by far.
But baseball's a good one. So it'll be fun. It'll be nice to have a few days rest for some of the guys, and I hope that that rest proves to be valuable for the team. Where we get Darvish back, we get Rizzo out of a funk, get a healthy Bryant, so on and so forth.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you don't have anything else, I guess that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please make sure you subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, the TuneIn app. Please hit subscribe. Share with your friends. Thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van. And she looks like...
Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears. Oh, when the Bears go Bears.